Hello and welcome to this week's video. This is going to be a nice and simple winter snow scene for you, just to get you started on working with snow maybe, and on doing things like mountains. And this is the picture we're going to end up with. The drawing for this is linked in the description box below if you want to go and download the drawing. So we're going to start, this is a very dark blue I have here, and we're going to start by outlining all the picture in the blue. The picture I'm doing is a 8-inch square and it's felted on 100% wool felt. I'm actually using tops or roving at the moment for this, but you could just easily do this with carded wool, and in fact carded wool might be easier for you. So I'm just going around the outside. I use my multi-prong tool because it's quicker to needle felt with that, but you can do all this with a single one. Now I'm going to blend these two colours together. Obviously you can see it's a different blue, and I want to blend some of that together and then start to lay it over, because what I'm going to do now is start to blend all these blues in together, because I'm going to have some moonlight and I want it to shine and make it look like it's shining. So I started with the darkest blue, then I've gone to that blue, and as you watch me I'm going to keep mixing different blues together and we'll blend it in. Now this little bit here, I'm just putting over where my moon is going to go, and it's a placeholder. You'll see in a minute. I'm actually not going to be using that. I'm going to cover it over, but I want to be able to feel it, so I haven't got to go and try and work out where it is on my picture. I'll be able to feel it underneath and then go back and use that as a guide. So this now is just a pale blue, and I'm just, as you'll see, I'm just laying it all over. Don't worry about covering your mountains and things, and just keep laying, but lay it thinly, because we're going to try and have it wispy on the edges and blend it all in. So you see what I've done? I've laid that over. Now I've gone to find my little dot of wool underneath where the moon is, and I'm laying some white just over that, just so it covers it and goes a little bit over it. And that's going to be because I want the moon to have a little halo around it in a minute. And because I cut that, I'm just pulling the edges out so that it's not a straight line. And I'm just laying that very thinly over where my moon is underneath. And keep the edges of that wispy, and then just felt it all in. If this is your first picture, make sure you felt thoroughly. You might not see me felt it all down, but I do. So make sure you go through it thoroughly. Now this is a tiny bit of yellow with some white. And this is what's going to be I know it sounds silly saying it's the moon in yellow, but it'll make it look bright. So screw it all up in your fingers and just put a little blob down. If you didn't want to do the marker, you can just put it wherever you like, but it needs to be in the middle of that little white area that you put down. And you'll see in a minute how it makes it glow. And now I'm going to go back over with some more of the white, very thinly, and put it over the top. So it's going to soften up the hard edges that you would have had when you felted it in. You see how it kind of looks misty and it's glowing through the cloud? It's not really a cloud, it is just like a halo. So now I'm mixing a light blue with a slightly darker blue that we had on the not the very dark blue, but the medium blue. And I'm now mixing some white with it, because I want to blend this together more yet. I don't want that to be so harsh. So this is a combination of the lighter blue we've used in the middle and the darker blue we used on the outside. And you just again lay this on thinly, because it's fine if you can see the other blue underneath coming through. That's what we want. We want it all to just blend together. And just keep going till you like the blue that you've got. You like the way it's blended in. Just keep mixing the colours together that you've used until you get a nice blend to it. Now this dark bit is, I just needed a little bit more where the mountains are going to be. I wanted a little bit of dark behind the mountains because the mountains are going to be snowy and white, and I wanted them to stand out against this dark bit down the bottom. So that's what I'm looking for, is where the edge of my mountain will be. So though it looks blobby, it won't look that way when it's done. And I do go up around the top corners and make that little bit more circular as well in a minute, just to add a little bit extra up there. So now we've taken the colour that I showed you that we used behind, and I'm now going to mix it with a lot of white. And possibly, I think I had a touch of grey here, but don't worry if you haven't got it. If you have got some grey, add it, because this is, believe it or not, going to be the shaded part of the snow. And I'm not being careful, I'm just blobbing it on. The biggest bit here is just to make sure you covered up the colour from below, if you have a coloured felt like I have. I was just trying to work out where the mountain is going to come to. But I'm not taking that grey up to the top of the mountain, that's just going up some of the way. And here I'm just filling in some darker areas where I want the edge of the mountain to be. You'll see how that works in a minute. Now we're going to make the brighter snow, so we want a touch of yellow, don't go too heavy-handed with the yellow, and mix that in with the white, and mix it as well as you can. It doesn't have to be completely perfect, but as well as you can. And then we're going to form the top of the mountain with it, and this is going to be the snowy part on the top of the mountain. And we'll do the same for all three mountains, so this is where you decide how high you want it. And now I'm going to start to form the snow that looks like it's coming down off the mountain. So put it on thinly, whether it's carded or the tops, put it on thinly and make sure that you don't cover all the grey that's underneath. You'll see what I mean in a minute, because you want to see some of the grey come through, because that will give you the shadows where the snow's formed on some parts and not settled on others. So spread it out and keep it thin, and you'll see as we go along this, and then it'll form the snow that comes down the sides. If you have tiny blobs of yellow in the snow, it doesn't matter, but if you have big bits of it, you need to take it out. And can you see where I'm doing that down by the other mountain? I've left a little bit of the grey showing, and that will give me the separation between the two mountains. You can see how bright it looks now as well with that touch of yellow. See how I'm leaving some of the grey or grey blue. Now we're going to take the same bluey grey colour that you've used on the mountain, and we're going to lay it all along at the back here. Again, just make sure you cover up the underneath felt, that's all. If you look at the sky just briefly, I've got appears to be a dark line between on the left hand side, and I do go and blend that line out later on. I'm not sure I said, but this picture is an 8x8, but when I cut the felt that I'm going to needle felt onto, I cut a 9x9, so I've got a 1/2 inch extra all the way around the picture, even though I felt that up to the edges. So again, this is just the yellowy colour that we did at the top of the mountains, and this is going to form the snow at the front. So you can have any shape you want here, you just want it to go up and down a bit in places. And now I'm going to start putting in the trees. Use whatever dark green you've got. It doesn't matter what it is as long as it's dark, and just build yourself like a cone shape. This is going to be your tree, or the base of your tree. And you can see I've just moved the sides in and out a little bit. And now I'm going to put a bit of a lighter green. If you don't have a lighter green, mix some yellow with the dark green. That would be fine if you have some yellow. And we're just going to define each section of the tree a little bit. I'm putting this on the best way. I was trying to think while I was doing it the best way to describe how to do it. And it's a bit like if you think about wrapping tinsel around a tree. If you treat this green, sort of put it on slightly at an angle, as if you were wrapping tinsel around a tree. And we're going to more or less repeat the process on the other trees as well. So I've gone in with the dark, made the edges go in and out a little bit, and then I'm going to go down with the lighter green. On this one I don't take the lighter green all the way around the tree. I'm going to leave one side a little shaded. And I just use the tip of my needle very carefully to move the wool around a little bit to blend it in, but be a bit gentle because they snap easily. Now this is some of the blue snow colour mixed with some white, and we're just going to lay it very, very thinly on some parts of the tree now, just to look like it's a little bit frosty. But make sure you lay it down very thinly, because you want to be able to see all the stuff underneath it. and try and keep it only onto the lighter green areas, because the darker green bits that you can see are going to be the shade, so you wouldn't really have the snow in there. You can see just how finely I'm putting it on. I can hardly see it to hold it. My thought on this picture was it's almost like I'm making you the background, and then you'll see what I mean, but at the end, if you want to add something different as a centre thing, you can do, or you can leave it as I've made it, and have a perfectly nice picture. But if you decided at the end you wanted to put a snowman or something else in it, then you've got plenty of scope to do that with it. And this is just some of the dark blue that I used for the sky, and I'm mixing that in with a bit of the dark green, and I'm just using that to make a little extra shadow in some of the areas where the branches would be going into the trunk. I've tried to vary, although I have the base green the same on all the trees, I try to vary a little bit as the colour on the outside. I mix the same greens, but I mix them up slightly differently, so it doesn't get boring and you do have a little variation. And you can't really go wrong. As long as you've got the cone shape, people will automatically think it's a tree. So just play with your greens, and the secret is to be very light with them. Just put it on little bits at a time, very thin areas, patchy bits, and build it up that way. I'm not sure if I've already said it, but although you don't see me doing it, make sure you felt it all down really well as you go along. I obviously cut out those bits so that you're not bored with watching me do it, but I make sure it's all felted down really well. Try to make sure that your trees aren't all the same height as well. That sounds a silly thing, but you just want to try and vary their heights a bit. You can see by looking at this how using different colours in different blends makes the trees look really nice. They're all just that little bit different. If you wanted to make the picture more Christmassy towards the end, once you've done all this, you could add coloured dots on the trees, like you would have an indoor Christmas tree, like baubles. So you could Christmassy it if you wanted to. You could do things like put in snowmen, have someone on a sled. If you're feeling a little confident, you could try putting in a reindeer. There's all sorts of things you can do with this picture, but I just didn't want. I wanted to keep it nice and simple for you, so you've got a nice sort of base to work with. Now this bit here is a little bit of the bluey grey, and I'm just using it to start to define some of the hills and little banks and things. That bit there I'd take off later because I do something else and I didn't want it, but that's a nice thing with this as well. You can pull bits back off. You can see how I'm adding the trees. I've got a nice bigger tree at the front there. It's all done in the same way. So once you've done one tree, you'll be able to do them all. And while you're doing the trees, experiment with how you want to do them, because that's how you find your technique for doing these trees. On some of these trees I've tried different ways to define the branches to see which I like. This one the other ones I did going down at slanted angles. This one I'm putting the lighter green on in patches, as you can see. So I thought I'll try that one and see what I think. And they all work, they all look pretty good. You can't really go wrong. And again, I'm just defining the shadows with a little bit of the darker blue, but mix the darker blue with the green, so it's not actually dark blue alone. You want to try and keep it looking vaguely green. I put an extra bit of green there because I had the bank, and then I thought you'd see some of the tree branch, so I just added a bit of extra there. Now I did think I've put little dots for, it could be, I think I was thinking of it as stars, but you could put dots for snowflakes. I did think what else would be nice was if you had any little fine beads that were shiny, you could sew them up on there. See how it shines and glows? And that's all just because you used a bit of yellow. Now that's just some of the grey snow colour we used. And what I'm putting on here is I'm actually going to put, I decided to have it look like someone has skied across it. So that's what these are going to be. This is the little ruts where the skis go. But this is the point where you could put in snowmen, deers, whatever you think you'd like to put there. If you've got a reference picture of something you've seen somewhere, you can pop it in now. Because up to this point you've got a nice basic picture. But I wanted to keep it, what can I say? I wanted to keep it simple to look at, easy on the eye. There was no, you know how you can look at some pictures and you almost have to work when you look at them. But I wanted this one to be a nice, simple, easy, just pleasant to look at without having to think about it picture. I don't know whether that makes sense, but I do some pictures and there's quite a lot in them, and you have to take your time to look at the picture to enjoy it, really. Where I wanted this one to be just, you could just look at it. It's nice and simple, a relaxing picture to look at. So anyway, what I've done here is, this is the first bit, and this is just the snowy colour. The shaded snowy colour, because obviously I'm making the dips where the skis have gone through. And we're going to work on that a bit more, because you don't just want two grey lines. I say grey, but it's grey blue. You don't just want those lines, you want a little bit more to it. So in the for some reason I've cut it out, but in the dips of the ski lines I've added a little bit of darker blue as well, right at what would appear to be the bottom of the picture. At the bottom of the ski dents. And this is just obviously taking the track back up the other side. And these ski lines take you into the picture, so you can't help, your eyes makes you go into the picture between the trees, and then you kind of go up the mountain and out. So I have, on the left hand side you can see I found myself some carded wool, and it's sheep colour, literally sheep colour, sort of beigey sheep colour. But because it had that yellow tone to it, I thought, oh, that's handy. And I've used that to lighten up some of the areas. But if you don't have any of that colour, then just use a little bit of your white and yellow. I needed to have that tree that I'm working on now actually look like it's growing down behind the bank, which is why I filled the green into the bottom. Otherwise it was floating in the air and it didn't look right. So this is some of the darker blue mixed with, I think it's a grey colour, but I wanted it quite dark in the ruts here. So I'll put those bits in just to define it a bit more, and then I'll get some more of the yellowy white and I will put it on this side of what looks like the ruts, so that the light is glinting off bits that would have been built up as it went through. Because the light yellow sets off, the yellowy white sets off well against the bluey colour. That's where you get your brights and your darks in snow. Because I did think as well with this one, where the two ski bits meet at the bottom there, you could have put a little pond. You could have a little icy pond in the middle. Well, I hope you enjoyed the picture coming to life. If you did, let me know in the comments below. And if you have any other ideas, do please leave me a comment. I do like to read them. I also have a Facebook group, which I will link below, and a private members Facebook group. So if you do decide to have a go at the picture, do come and join us, and you can post it on there and we can have a look. I would love to see them. Anyway, I will let you go and have a lovely time, and I will see you for the next picture on the next video. Thanks very much. Bye for now.